Welcome back to another episode of No Money Spent. In the last episode, we made some pretty big additions to the team. First up, I went and made Vince Dunn's Sharpshooter Master Set player item for a few reasons. Number one, I wanted to try out Gold Seeing Eye, and since his card had a zero cost ability for it, I wanted to see if it was impactful at all. Secondly, he's a former Niagara Ice Dog, and you gotta practice what you preach a little bit. Now, that being said, when it comes to how he performed, Seeing Eye is just not a very good ability when it's the main focus of the card. What I mean by that is I found myself specifically trying to get shots with Seeing Eye activated, and because it only activates when the goalie is in a screen state, something that it's very hard to pay attention for, you legit have to be looking at the goaltender to know. When he starts looking around, things like that, that's when you can actually get some benefit from Seeing Eye. The problem is that players can see that you have Gold Seeing Eye activated. They will usually pressure you a little bit, and I just didn't find enough time at the point to safely actually take shots with the goalie screened, and I would just much rather have a whole slew of other abilities like Heat Seeker, which activates on every single shot regardless of the state the goalie is in. Now, when it comes to his skating and defense, I actually really enjoyed this card. 93 speed and excel and agility with silver elite edges, which I had activated on him. He felt extremely good. In fact, I found him more effective off the rush because he was just very quick and I was able to create some offense that way. Defensively, again, just fine, especially when you consider I have him paired with the GOAT Colt 99. Should you make this card? Absolutely not. Would it be awesome to try out cards in general before investing a ton of your resources in them? Yes. Yes, it would. Now, the other acquisition I made. You all bullied me into getting the 91 Jarome Iginla. Sleeves, you gotta use your favorite players, regardless of how mediocre they look in terms of abilities and attributes. Fellas, I've been playing this game for a long time, and while I am not always right, first to admit, I could see the writing was on the wall with Jarome Iginla's power-up icon card. And let me tell you, I don't know if it's because he's one of my favorite players of all time, but this might be the most frustratingly disappointing card I have ever used. Even at 91 overall, I am sure there are some Iginla icon holders out there that love this card, but make it snappy, again, just for the way I play, is completely useless. Unstoppable Force isn't really necessary because unless someone is using total controls or lining you up for hits, you can pretty much hold the puck with anyone, and his skating is just fine. As you can see, in 28 games of Hut Champs and Rivals, no squad battles, he was on my second line, and he had 7 points and is a +5, and took me 3 months to make. So, that said, he is now one of the more expensive fourth liners on the squad. Now, if we're being real, the modern icons just don't have very good options. Even the vintage don't really either. But I did mention that I would have probably rather gone with Nick Lidstrom, but even at 90 overall, his skating is pretty abysmal. The other option is Scott Niedermayer because I needed a left-handed defenseman, yet somehow he's an 89 overall in March. So I was pretty doomed regardless of who I took, and since Jarome Iginla is technically the highest rated modern icon, I should count my blessings, but holy smokes have these been disappointing. Now, Week 2 Sharpshooters did get released, and there were some interesting options throughout. If you didn't watch my Sharpshooters ranking video, I mean, what the but I said Jordan Kyrou would be one of the S-tier options if you didn't already have an elite option as a right-handed forward. I think free goal close quarters and 95 speed and excel is going to be useful for quite some time. And Noah Hannafin, in my opinion, is a perfect replacement for Ray Bourque because he gets free gold heat seeker, is faster, bigger, 99 shooting across the board. So there are some decent week 2 options. This event is the perfect example of what happens if you come up with a banger idea, release it at the right time, and then don't pick the right master set player items. It can completely derail an event. Like the fact that we have Seth Jarvis or even Jordan Kyrou, Tim Stützle, over the likes of Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, and David Pasternak is just kind of a tough look. I think this event would have actually been really good, considering at this stage of the game, post-Team of the Year, these events are almost all forgotten about, but I actually like the creativity of giving free shooting abilities, as well as maxing out their shot on some interesting cards that have decent skating. If this was, like I mentioned, Austin Matthews or Leon Draisaitl, we're laughing. Great event, in my opinion. But because I obliterated my collection to make Vince Dunn, I'm not really in a position where I want to sacrifice everything else for another Sharpshooter event item. So I think the plan is going to be to just wait for the Warp Speed event, which is what is coming on Friday. And if it's anything like the Sharpshooters event, we might legit get 99 skaters with free gold skating abilities, which would be one of the more must-make events of the season, which I'm actually kind of excited to see how they handle. Last thing in regards to the team, we got to discuss Adin Hill. In my last episode, I talked about I needed a change from Askarov because he wasn't even stopping the things that I just was confident he would stop. And Adin Hill jumped out in Hut Champs to a 4-0 record, a save percentage above 98, and a minuscule goals against. I want to make it clear, guys, this is why goalies don't really matter. I have now played 32 games with Adin Hill, again, all Hut Champs and Division 2 rivals, and as you can see, he's just come back down to earth. He's got an 87% save percentage, a 2.34 goals against, and while I have played very well with him, I started out with a 9-1 record, and as you can see, everything is starting to average out. This is why I talk about goaltending not mattering, because every once in a while, it's just how you play because you're not confident that a goalie is going to stop things, and that is when you should make a change. Adin Hill has been great, but if I go another 20 games in the next episode of this series, I'd be willing to bet that his save percentage is slightly lower as I get back to like where I average usually throughout the entire year. Now, we also got Season 4's XP path dropped, and as you can see, I've been slowly making my way through the XP path, currently at Tier 14. If you are someone that plays in a little bit of a higher division rivals, like Division 1, 2, and even 3. If you just play Rivals, I promise you, you can complete the XP path if you can play, I want to say 5 hours a week, because a lot of the actual XP path objective tiers are very easy to complete by just playing the game. Outside of the absolutely absurd take toe drag shots with any player, that one's just silly. But as you can see, win 15 games, perform any deke. These are a lot of things that you can just do when playing the game normally. So don't feel like you've got to grind a ton. If you just play casually, you should be able to get it all the way finished. And the reward for this XP path is Brady Tkachuk, one of my favorite players. I'm just a sucker for people that hit really hard and perform pretty well offensively, just like Jerome McGinley. He's got great size at 6'4", 225. I gotta be honest with you, though, at this stage of the game, obviously, it's a little disappointing that he's not very quick in comparison to what we just got in Dylan Larkin. He's a good card, not a great card, and because he is a pure left-handed winger, he's probably going to be pretty far down the lineup on a lot of players' teams that have been grinding the game since launch. I do love that he's got Goalborn Leader because stamina continues to be a disaster in this game. Close quarters and truculence also are pretty fun abilities. I'm starting to think that because this requires a massive grind, I'd actually like to see these cards also receive free zone abilities or maybe superstar abilities. I think it would just add a little bit of a benefit for the people that grind the XP path. Now, a lot of people have been asking, what XP sets are you doing in Season 4? And it really remains the same as the prior events. Really, the ones that you want to focus on are the random 85 overall and above choice pack for 10 collectibles. The reason why, in my opinion, you want to go for this is, again, you're just kind of mitigating risk. Since 84 overalls are the minimum to enter into an event, if you do the 83 and above player choice pack, there's pretty good odds you'll get an 84. 4-5, but again, I just like the shot at getting a little bit higher overall. This, again, is personal preference, and I'll be honest with you, there's a case to be made about the 84 to 89 chance player pack, simply because 84s are still used as the bare minimum of entry to an event, and 89s are considerably more valuable because master set player items require you to have a few 88 and above items. Now, this could change pretty quickly. I think the Warp Speed event is going to be 92 overalls, meaning that the barrier of entry, if we go on what EA has done so far for the last few events, what we're going to see is 85s be the bare minimum of entry, where we've got 84s right now. And when I talk about the barrier of entry, I mean that the very first set to start making master set player items, that's what the barrier of entry is. So right now it's 84 and above items. That's why 84 to 87 overall cards on the market are almost the exact same price, because 85s, 86, and 87s individually don't do anything different than an 84 overall card. When the Warp Speed event comes out, I fully expect this to be 85 and above. You can prepare accordingly. I could be wrong, but that's just my guess. And again, I've talked about this quite a bit, but the real issue is that they've now gone to a event-specific second tier, meaning that you need 86 and above event items as opposed to just 86 and above items in general. I get a lot of questions of, would you trade in 86 overalls as 84s or even 87s? I would wait just a little bit longer, wait for the next event to see. I would throw in 85s and at most 86s into this set if you are looking to make a Master Set player item. Now, this week's Hut Champs card is the 90 Owen Power for 10 wins, 91 for top 100. And I do think Owen Power is a very good card. He's got 92 skating essentially across the board. Two-way defenseman is a great synergy for any non-99 defenseman. And he's got silver elite edges at 6'6", 221. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Gold Seeing Eye, in my opinion, is not worth activating, but he might be an interesting card to throw in the lineup. I don't know if he'll replace Ray Bourque because Ray Bourque's ability combo is just very useful to me, but I do like the fact that I could just trade the card in for a Master Set item. It's guaranteed, and normally I just stop at 10 wins because I don't feel like playing anymore, but I'm 10-6. And why not do a little bit of a gameplay breakdown of one of my final Hut Champs games? So let's hop into a Hut Champs game and see what we can do. All right, so I thought let's break down all of the goals for and against in this one to see where we can improve and what we do well. And things start early. Once I break into the zone, I actually have a decent cycle around the net with Zetterberg, and I find Parayko, who is in place for a one-timer. Now, I don't get a clean green one-timer, and it's kind of a weak shot, which is just not really going to go in very often. Plays the puck out with Makar, and this is a big mistake on my part. Something that I really struggle with is defending the rush, especially against good players, because I challenge so often. In this situation right here, where he brings it over to McDavid, I actually switch to Parayko, which is the right move, but I try a stick lift too late instead of challenging him, and because McKinnon already has a step, he's actually created a 2-on-1. By the time I switch to McDavid, it's too late, and then when I switch to Dunn, because I realize what's coming, I can't turn around fast enough to actually break up the play, and he's able to throw it in 2 minutes into the game. And again, what I think I need to do if I want to improve at the division and the skill level I play at is in those situations where I give up the puck and I'm defending the rush 2-on-2, switch to a forward and just bring the forward back. That will stop a lot of these 2-on-1 opportunities that end up getting created because you don't get the right hitting animation or your stick lift doesn't work. A few minutes later, I'm on the penalty kill, and I have a great opportunity with Taves, a 3-on-1, and there's really nothing I can do here. I send a pass into Yzerman. For whatever reason, it's a grenade off of his skates because the game thinks I'm trying to go to Kucherov. EA's biggest enemy has always been the 3-foot pass, and he ends up getting possession. He breaks the puck out with Nylander, down to Rantanen, and again, this is an unfortunate situation. So with Taves, I try and challenge at the line. Watch what happens when I R1. For whatever reason, Taves decides to try and poke-check the face-off dot instead of challenging the guy at the blue line. And now he's created a situation where he's one-on-one Rantanen and Makar. One of my biggest struggles is always going outside of the middle of the ice. I talk about this in my strategies and tips video, that when you're defending the play, stay inside the face-off dots. Look, what I do is I chase towards the side that Rantanen was going with Makar. Again, I try and poke-check. It's a big flaw of mine. And now he's got a clear breakaway, and he's able to just go backhand over Aiden Hill. This all starts because of a busted play up in the ice. Completely frustrating because I think this was entirely avoidable. It is what it is. It's just part of the game, and now I'm down 2-0. Now, I've talked about this a lot. Right off the opening draw, one of the best plays you can do in this situation to avoid a turnover and actually create offense is to wait to see who they control off of the faceoff. My opponent just keeps his centerman, and in this situation, the winger will almost always attack the defender, which leaves your winger that's on that same side wide open. So I fire it with Parayko up to McKinnon. Now I'm into the zone. Now, the next thing I'm watching for is who does he control in the defensive zone? My opponent does not switch off of his forward. He is legitimately just trying to sit in the middle of the ice and watch him coast, trying to block any pass that I'm trying to force right through the middle. As I skate down the boards, I stop up, and look how far he's taken his centerman down into the zone to try and stop any pass through the middle. I've got Parayko at the point wide open. So with all that time and space, he's trying desperately to stop any D-to-D one-timer, and when you see this situation, let them just skate right through the blue line. Don't force D-to-D one-timers. Take the space. Parayko is now wide open, and you're giving a 99 overall Hut card, a complete free ride to the net, and I'm able to drill it right through and make it 2-1. Off of the very next draw, it is almost the exact same situation. I win the faceoff with Parayko. He sits in the middle with his centerman. His winger starts to rush me, and McKinnon is still wide open. However, in this instance, it just hits his skate. He intercepts the puck at the faceoff dot with McKinnon, and at this point, I've got Vince Dunn, who is essentially just going to get absolutely smoked against Connor McDavid. He's able to walk in and just go forehand, backhand, and now he's got a 2-goal lead yet again just moments later. In all honesty, there's really not much I could have done there. I guess I could have held on to it instead of throwing it through. Usually that isn't intercepted at all. However, it just so happened that his AI was able to stop it with his skate, and it's unfortunate. Now into the second period, and after the first, I've realized that my opponent just is awful at faceoffs. And if you're bad at faceoffs, I do have a faceoff tip video from NHL 23 that legit still applies. Nothing has really changed, so if you want to improve at the faceoffs, I would definitely recommend checking out that video. But nonetheless, I'm in the offensive zone, and I know backhand straight back has legit worked every single time I've taken a faceoff. So I get it back to Parayko. I see that he's not moving his centerman. Dunn is open for a DDD one-timer, and you take those anytime that they are available, going against the grain, and Damian Clara is swimming like Michael Phelps. So now it's 3-2. 13 minutes left in the second. He gets the puck behind his own blue line, and on the breakout, when you see players that are holding the puck going to one side down the boards, they are almost always going to try and force a pass to their winger through the neutral zone. So what I do with Larkin is I challenge that play, bring him all the way over to the boards, and he's able to knock it down, and Dvorsky's able to pick it back up. So once Dvorsky gets possession, I see that he's back skating towards his goaltender, so I take the space available to me, and I try for a low far side wrister. However, that one's blocked. Larkin, though, on the rebound, is able to get a puck on net, which then sends his goalie into a desperation animation. Dvorsky picks it back up, and because he's scrambling, you can see that he has Kucherov selected, but his player is literally in the way, and he's running into him, and that leaves Taves wide open for another one-timer, and I drill this one upstairs, and we're all tied up. This all started because of just good forechecking. And again, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of tendencies that you're picking up throughout the game. So if a player is breaking the puck out in the exact same way, play for that as the game goes on a little bit further. 2 minutes later, again, another offensive zone draw. I know that he just can't beat me on the faceoff, so backhand straight back. And in this situation, it is not like the first goal that I had with Parayko. He selects Garland, and he immediately challenges that D-to-D one-timer. Once you see that situation, do not force that play because that's a breakaway against. So I take a look towards the goaltender. I notice that my centerman is right in line for a perfect opportunity to tip a puck home. I fire it right for his stick, and Dvorsky's able to bat that one down. And now I've got the lead. It's 4-3. There's nothing wrong with going for tips. One of my favorite things to do in this game is to actually set up an effective tip play. And the way to do it effectively is to not look at the goaltender in this situation. You're specifically looking for your player and shooting right for their stick. If you aim anywhere in the direction of their stick blade, they will almost always get a stick on it. A few minutes later, I actually defend the rush pretty well here with Ray Bourque. Nice stick lift, gets puck possession, and then on my breakout, I make a pretty costly error. As I'm trying to force a pass up the ice, I hit Larkin, and what I should have done is immediately fired it up to Kucherov. But because I hang on to it for a second, his AI is able to knock me off the puck with Larkin because he just has nowhere to go, and now he's back into the zone. With Messier, I go for a nice tip with Sandin Pellikka. However, it's NHL 25, and half the time when poke checks go off, they don't get possession. He's able to walk in with Messier, fire it on, it goes into the corner, picks it back up with Backstrom, and it's just a mess in front. He's able to get it through to Garland, and now we're all tied up. But this entire goal, while I think preventable with that poke check, doesn't even happen if I make the correct play on the breakout. These are the things that I want to pick up on, guys, that you've got to be faster when it comes to breakouts. You got to make sure you're looking for the next pass when you send that first one, because if you don't, stuff like this can happen. Now, late in the third, I'm in my own zone, and I need to do just a nice breakout. My entire line is dead, up with Nylander, and instead of just firing this in all the way around the board so that my players could go change, I try to cut into the middle and make a play with Nylander. That was dumb because I turn it over with McKinnon, and again, because it's NHL 25, my defense decided that, hey, we need to go change and bail out immediately, and it's a breakaway with Nathan McKinnon, and Aiden Hill has no chance. So, again, this one is on me. Even though my defense did go for a change, technically I was breaking the puck up the ice. They didn't anticipate I was going to turn the puck over there. I should have just fired it in and went for a change. I think that when your players are completely out of energy, trying to make a play instead of just even losing possession but allowing them to get off the ice is probably the better play. Now into the third period, I'm trailing by 1. I'm in the offensive zone with full pressure, and I send it back to Devon Taves, who is obviously on his strong side. Now, I don't really have anything I love, so I send it back to the point to Makar to just keep the play alive. Now, watch when he switches to Nylander. He's trying to block a D-to-D one-timer. But guys, if they're not on their offhand, they're not going to be able to do a D-to-D one-timer. So instead of trying to force anything through, I just curl back and take the space that's now available because he took Nylander out of the play. I walk right in with Cale Makar. I take a look at the goaltender, and his goaltender is shading to the short side a little bit too much, and Makar is able to drill it in top corner. This is the result of just a couple of nice reads, and then taking advantage of the player that you have with the puck. Cale Makar's got Heat Seeker. I let it go in the range that Heat Seeker is still activated, which is essentially just around the top of the faceoff dot, and now we're all tied up again. Guys, keep taking advantage of what they're doing until they change what they're doing. My man, for like the 15th time, gives the exact same play off of an offensive zone draw to Cale Makar. His goaltender is completely screened. He's trying to defend the D-to-D one-timer. I've got my centerman in front for a tip. And what do you know? McDavid's able to tip one home, and now I've got a 6-5 lead again. You don't always have to go for a D-to-D one-timer. A wrist shot from the point is just as effective, including tip shots. Shoot for their stick. Now with 7 minutes to go in the third, I've got a free lane to the net with Devon Taves, and I curl up to take a low far side wrister. Now in hindsight, I probably should have gone in even closer because I had some space available to me, and his goaltender is able to stop that. Now defending the rush, my guys are all tired. However, I switch immediately back to Makar. Again, something that I like to do is hold down the right trigger and click in R3. That will select the player that is closest to your goaltender, no matter the situation. So if you're up on the forecheck or in the offensive zone and you do it, holding down right trigger, clicking in the right stick, you'll select the furthest defenseman back to make sure that you can at least stop a breakaway, things like that. So Makar is in position. I switch over to Taves to challenge Kucherov at the line because I know he has no energy, same as me. I'm not able to get the poke check off. He curls back around because I'm chasing, and he just rips one on. That was the correct play. He really didn't have anything there. All of his guys are tired, and he's able to just create some offense. Now, he fires a pass right out in front that goes off my goaltender, and I collect it with Makar, and I have nowhere to go. That was just an unfortunate bounce. He gets it back with Kucherov. I'm kind of running around here. I'm trying to defend both one-timer options, and he decides that he's not going to take either. Sends it down to Messier, and I select Taves. Again, way overplaying the direction that I'm going, and he has an easy feed over to Nylander to score this one. Again, this is me just chasing around and not really having some vision. Panic player switching is almost always going to lead to a goal. In hindsight, I probably should have just stayed with Larkin and tried to defend the passes that were going through because it was just chaos. Now we're in overtime. Offensive zone draw. Literally the same thing I've done all game. Backhand straight back to Makar. I walk it in because I have a ton of space. However, my players are not in position for a tip shot, and he's blocking any D-to-D one-timer attempt. I curl back around Makar. He overcommits with Nylander, trying to block the one-timer more than likely down to the face-off dot. Hard stop-up. He probably should have got the puck there with Kucherov, but he doesn't. I'm able to walk it into the slot, keep it with Makar, and I just rip one far side, and Cale Makar ends it. All I did was just take the space available to me, and again, use my most effective cards. So a nice little win there in overtime. And again, like I mentioned about Aiden Hill and my goaltender, the stats always just seem to go back to the average. He had 6 goals on 22 shots. Now, something to note, again, guys, if you struggle this bad on the faceoffs, you need to go watch a video. I don't care if it's mine. You really need to understand it a little bit because this guy probably beats me if he just was even average at faceoffs. 24 faceoff wins to 2. That was crazy, but it is what it is, and I've got another win. So I hope that helps you improve a little bit at gameplay. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.